What up, YouTube? Good evening. This is Daniel Rucker with True Table. We're back at it again. This is part 2 to The Delusion is Real. I hope you guys are enjoying the content thus far. Like I explained yesterday, I will be doing a series, and I'm going to continue to come to you guys on a more regular basis. It's been a long day, so forgive me if my energy is a little bit more mellow. I'm going to try to keep the energy up. I'm going to try to keep it, vibrant and lively and things of that nature. But what I really wanted to do was to touch on some of the points that I did not touch on with yesterday's broadcast. Like I explained, that it's going to be a little bit more extensive. More than likely, it's going to be a series. The length of the series, I can't tell you at the moment. We'll see how far I get tonight, and we'll go from there. While I have you on the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like button. I appreciate that very much. I am really doing this to hopefully give information that is going to get people thinking. That's one of my main objectives, is to get people to really think. A lot of people I don't believe possess the ability to critically think. There's a difference between just thinking cognitively. Our brains work no matter what. However, there is a thing called critical thinking. There's a thing called objective thinking, and there's a broad perspective that is necessary to navigate this thing called life. It's not one thing you learn. It's several things you have to learn, and then there's levels to it, as I'm sure music and movies and different pop culture things have came across your feed, that there's levels to this. so anyway, I really wanted to get, like I said, further expound upon what I was explaining to you guys yesterday and what got the conversation started, what I felt I needed to bring to you based on what I viewed from a channel called The Sinner and the Saint, The Saint and the Sinner, one of those, a gentleman by the name of Marquette. He was having a discussion with the young lady, and it became really hostile, kind of turned up to a degree. And I wanted, that's what kind of got me like, okay, yeah, definitely, Daniel, you need to go ahead and give your perspective on some of the things that she was talking about, because there's still this immense amount of delusion that exists amongst the population, especially when you come into contact with, young women collectively. There just seems to be a disconnect, a humongous disconnect. And what I want to try to do is try to bring a level of connectivity to where we as men as well as women, from a humanistic perspective, can start to try to understand each other a lot more. And even with that as a pursuit and a goal, with the understanding component, what's going to have to happen first is it's going to have to be certain conversations. People need to do a lot more talking. There definitely has been proof in my own life, as well as studies, that people really don't talk. Even in relationship, they don't talk. They don't question things. They don't inquire. They are not really concerned about things that I guess matter. And that's scary to me. Like that's actually quite scary. But I think there is some credence to that, because I believe sometimes people are terrified of the truth. The truth, as they say, hurts. I don't think the truth hurts. I think being lied to and deceived and living life from a delusional perspective, and then waking up and realizing that the crap that you thought was reality isn't really reality. Like that hurts. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Things to consider. Men, I'm gonna be direct with both parties, but I'm gonna teeter-totter back between, switch from left to right and from one group to the other group. But right now, at the moment, men, hear me, feel me, please understand that what I'm about to say is of the utmost importance when you're talking about pursuing relationships, aligning yourself with young women, and trying to build with someone. You need to be more diligent in assessing the mental, emotional stability of the woman you pursue. I'm going to let that marinate, because I really want you to understand what I'm saying. You need to be more diligent in assessing the mental and emotional stability of the women that you pursue, the woman you're pursuing. Why is that important? Well, human beings go through series of experiences. 9 times out of 10, when you meet an individual, they had a life before you, depending on at what point in life you met them. And what I mean by they had a life before you is they had a childhood before you. They had an upbringing and a cultural, influence before you. They had information before you. So their process, their outlook, their viewpoint on things is going to be housed in what they at that point have been exposed to. You as the man need to decide that if her exposure level, if she is someone who is open to learning, if she's malleable, if she's open-minded, and then at the state that she is there damage there? What do I mean by damage? Does she possess erroneous thinking? Does she possess toxicity in her process and in her mindset and in her emotional state? Because if she does, you as a man have to understand what may be your job if you choose to pursue, cultivate, grow, and deal with that young lady. The reason why that is important is because it's like, I try to give analogies and examples to where people can understand where I'm coming from to make it real simple, or as simple as possible. Most people understand the basic principle that when you build a house, you don't build it on a foundation that's weak. You don't build it on unstable ground. Okay, a human being's mindset, a woman's mindset, a woman's emotional state is her foundation. It is your job as the contractor, as the construction organization, the builder, as I stated in the video yesterday, that if you can build upon her foundation from a mental perspective, if there is garbage, if there is, loose gravel, if there's potholes, if there's bad wiring, if there is, debris, you have to, well, you don't have to, she has to clear the foundation. And the clearing of the foundation means that she needs to either be in therapy, seeking spiritual guidance or counseling, reading, and pushing past the damage or the position that she is currently in when she meets you. Because otherwise, there is no way to really build a successful relationship if there is present damage emotionally and mentally, period. Side note, I'll tell you a little story. I like to tell stories and give you guys sometimes an insight to my life, because most of what I talk about, I've either experienced, seen, studied, heard about. I've been on this planet 35 years, traveled to 16 countries. That gave me a lot of perspective and being immersed in cultures and things like that. And I'm an avid reader. So anyway, me being a young man who grew up in a very, very structured household, I was given a lot of tools early on. I have a mother and a father who I feel were very astute individuals. And what they did is they put a lot of tools inside of me. They put a lot of lessons inside of me. They put a lot of lessons inside of us and taught me a lot. Taught me how to critically think. Taught me how to, be objective. Taught me work ethic and so on and so forth. I'll spare you the details on that. What that did is that created a very healthy emotional foundation for myself. And to my ignorance, for a long time, I assumed that most people, most women, were getting some of the same type of lessons, love, upbringing, structure. This is what I assumed. Shame on me for assuming that, because that's actually not true. But that's what it was. I assumed this for quite a long time, actually, well into my mid-20s, give or take. I assumed that most people's upbringing was housed in health, housed in support, housed in love. What I come to find out through experience is that a lot of people's upbringing was very damaging. A lot of people's upbringing was very unbalanced and tense and unsupportive, counterproductive. It was violent at times. There was addiction at times. There was trauma, divorce, infidelity, molestation. The list goes on. Not good things. Things that create a different type of perspective for a child, right? So why is that important, Daniel? Why are you telling me this? Well, in my dating time and the time that I was getting to know different young ladies, what I found to be a common trend up to a certain point until I recognized what I needed to do to assess, which is what I'm telling you guys to do. I wasn't assessing properly. I asked questions. I was inquisitive. I observed, but what I also found is that a lot of women have a very good ability. A lot of them have a really great ability to be able to hide the true nature of the damage or hide the depth of the trauma, right? And so I started understanding that if I was looking to be successful in trying to recruit a candidate for the position that is my woman for my life, I was going to have to do the proper assessment and make sure that her mindset was conditioned correctly, her outlook was healthy, her emotional state was healthy, and then whatever trauma she was currently experiencing, she's either addressing, fixing, and working on self. Because me as a man, me as just one man, one person, not a godlike figure, not a supernatural figure. I don't have no cape on my back. I don't have no abilities to walk on water. I am just a man. I am not powerful enough. I am not powerful enough to be able to provide her with the necessary tools and foundation of what she's going to need in order for her to be individually successful and then successful with me. It's just not going to work. Two broken people cannot be together and have it work successfully without there being an immense amount of effort for those individuals to work on one's issues individually. And so that's one thing. I'm sharing that with you. I'm laying the foundation. Like I said, this is probably, for the most part, going to be a series because there's just so many things you have to unfold, so many things you got to pull apart. But that's one of the components that I wanted to share, because it is very relevant and very important, and it's key if you're going to really be out here and trying to do life right, as well as being able to assess correctly, right? All right. A lot of women believe that aligning with the man is incorrect in this current day society. Man, that's a bold statement, right? Well, it's very true. We have a society that was created, is still being created, and the agenda is being distributed through mass media, through music, through cinematography, that a woman alone by herself is powerful enough to withstand all things in life. She can do it all. She can be pretty. She can run for president. She can run a Fortune 500. She can raise, great children. She can have amazing sex. She can be a savage, but she can be sweet. She can run a nonprofit. It's laughable. It really is, because it's delusional. No person is capable of all of those things, especially not at the same time. And even if you are accomplished like that, with a certain accomplishment is going to come some level of loss. What I mean by loss, if your focus is to be the most accomplished young woman, period, then you're probably not going to be focused on trying to establish a family life with the man, because the two don't belong in the same recipe, in the same equation. They cancel each other out. And that's partly why you see so many single, so many unmarried women now. We have some of the most educated, some of the most astute, studious, brilliant women now than ever before, as far as educational, their particular achievements, and so on and so forth. However, we also have the most overweight women. Single mother rates are at an all-time high. Divorced, unhappy. So with one direction heading in success and accolades, well, the families are suffering. The structure that was progressive, that was working for our overall society, that suffered. And then in turn, when you look at the children, it's the same thing. It's a domino effect. All right. So you guys are with me, right? You guys with me? Okay. Yes. All right. Good. So like I've said before in the broadcast yesterday, I have a lot of sayings, but I also have things that I personally do not care. I'm a very logical person. I'm very, intentional person. And there's certain sayings that just for the life of me drive me crazy. Like, I do not understand why people say these sayings and then they gain popularity and then people make them a part of their like speech patterns or, things that they say, their mantras and whatnot. But the saying, you want to have your cake and eat it too. I hate that saying. I think that's the dumbest crap, period. Like, whoever came up with that saying should be shot, drug out, hung. That saying is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Who gets cake that doesn't want it? If it's your cake, like it's duh. Like if it's your cake, of course you want it. And I don't understand why this is such a popular saying amongst the female population particularly. Now, I'm not so removed that I don't understand what they're trying to intend. But to tell someone that you want to have your cake and eat it too, like it's supposed to be a bad thing to want your cake that is yours, is dumb. It's like improper speech. It is how would I put it? Combative jargon that does not produce anything progressive. It's retarded. It's dumb. Stop saying that, ladies. That mess is stupid. So, one of the things I find interesting is that women don't seem to understand that they are solely responsible for their baby-making factory, which is their ovaries. Let's stop right there, because I'm going into a different direction, and some of these topics have to do with what was discussed again in the debate on the YouTube channel, The Saint and the Sinner. And once they got around to the segment of how she was a single mother and how she got there, and if I'm not mistaken, the young lady actually ended up being married, and then they had their child, but things didn't work out. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the storyline of how that occurred. Now, why is that important, Daniel? Well, it's important because, see, there's a lacking of understanding of the difference between a baby mama and a single mother, and then how you came about producing children. It is very important that women understand that how you got to where you're at is important. If you're dealing with a man and you're dealing with a man that is, again, assessing, because it's a very different to hear, well, I was 16, I lost my virginity, I started humping around, had a few partners, had fun, turned up, and then around 23, I met this guy, had a baby. Now, I'm a baby mama. That's one scenario. Then someone who, I met a guy when I was 21. We dated for 2 years, decided to get married, had a kid. 5 years later, things didn't work out for whatever reason. That part is irrelevant, and now I'm in my mid-20s, approaching 30, with a child. Okay. They're two completely different scenarios. One shows intent. In both, okay, let me rephrase that. Both show intent. One's intent was positive, with intent of growth, with intent of longevity, preparation, maybe even maturity, maybe even insight. It is assumed that that was her mindset when she decided to take the route of getting married, having her kid, building. Okay? Then there's the other side of the just having fun, being foolish, being loose, being reckless. Different. Unfortunately, women seem to think that somehow, some way they're the same, that the outcome, because both have children or a child or whichever, it's equal. It's not equal. How you went about conducting yourself is very, very important. How you went about showing up in life at whatever stage is very, very important. And I can hear people on this broadcast right now like, oh, well, you shouldn't judge people. No, you do judge people. I don't know why people try to act like there is this law that you're not supposed to judge people. Like you as a person that decides to set standards for your life and create things for your life to attain, on an upward mobile perspective, and then you interact with people and based on what you assume, because from what I understand, I'm a human just like you're a human. You're a human just like I'm a human. And assumed that you have the same abilities that I have. It is an assumption, meaning we're not two completely different beings from the standpoint of supernaturalness or superior abilities, right? Everyone has the same type of ability. The results are usually the choices that they make or the choices that they don't make. The evidence is usually housed in that. And women seem to not understand that life is choice driven. Period. People need to understand this. But I'm now, like I said, I'm going to go teeter-totter back and forth. Right now, I'm focused on my ladies. Ladies, life is choice driven. The choices you make, regardless of if you think they have ramifications or not, have ramifications. And sometimes they're life altering. Sometimes you just can't hit the reset button. Sometimes you can't hit the rewind. And someone in your childhood needs to get in your head and get in your face and let you know the crap that you do has sometimes long lasting ramifications. It's kind of like, I'm going to reference this because I'm a movie person. If I'm not mistaken, and those who are listening, the fans of Disney and all that who are listening, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But if I'm not mistaken, I remember in Pocahontas that the freaking willow tree, the old lady willow tree, she was talking to Pocahontas or something, and she like dipped her freaking little branch in the water, and it like showed a ripple. And she talked about how relevant that ripple was. The reason why I'm using that as a reference point, because I believe most people watched that movie. I watched it. Most people have watched it, I believe. And it was very powerful because something so small was so significant. What she was trying to explain to her was that something so small, like literally a finger, a dime, a toe, a pebble, could have a ripple effect that is a lot larger than the initial contact point. That's life. You can make one choice, have one slip up, have one moment, have one night of fun, and it could completely change your direction in life. This is something that as an adult, and this is for both parties, it's crucial for you to understand. And someone should have taught you this before you got to the level where you start claiming to be an adult. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes 18 years old as an age is not, that's just where it gets started. 18 doesn't make you grown. By legalities and policies, they say you are a legal adult by 18. But they still have limitations on you, which is interesting, that you still can't legally drink in this country until you're 21. Or you can't rent a car by yourself till you're 25. So there's levels to this shit. Like levels, right? All right. So I hope I'm making sense to those people who are listening. So anyway, back to my ladies. Ladies, some of your choices, like having a child, is not a small thing. It's not something that you just, it's cute, and they got curly hair, and oh my God, I get to push around strollers, and then I'm gonna have like baby moments and baby stories. Guess what? Having a baby, unprotected meaning from the literal term, unprotected, sex, relationship, puts you in a world that now you create an entire different lane for yourself. And if you did that, recklessly, then you need to own everything that comes with it. That means the stress. That means the financial limitations. That means the ability to attract certain men, because your situation is permanent. It's not like being fat and then you can go lose some weight. That's a temporary situation. You can change that situation. But having a child, once you have that child, it's permanent. So I wanted to get into that because, a lot of things are surrounding this single mother situation and having kids before you're married, and which seems to be now current day is like, that's the thing to freaking do, is just have babies. I interact with, people all the time. I run into young ladies all the time. Like I've mentioned before, I go out and I have conversations with, different women at times. And I'm amazed sometimes at how many individuals, have kids, but not one kid. Sometimes it's numerous kids. And then you get their age, they may be like 31 with like 3 children. Then that makes your brain start turning, because you're like, well, when did you start humping? Like, when did you start producing little ones? Like, and you just imagine, because if you're anything like me and you're actually living in the real world, you understand that living by yourself, living alone, being an adult by yourself is expensive. There's bills, there's medical insurance, there's insurance, there's cable, there's a lot. It's expensive. So then you factor in not one, not two, but 3 little people in that equation. And you understand that most people don't make more. The median income is like $50,000, $52,000, $55,000 for an average person, college educated or not. That's no freaking money. It's crazy. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to really hone in on that, ladies, that you have to understand that men don't have babies. Men don't produce kids. That's not our gift. That is not our responsibility. That is a sole responsibility of you. You were born with the womb. You were born with ovaries. You understand, or should understand, that when sex happens, the equation is possible for you to actually have a child. So you need to do everything in your power to remain protected. Or guess what? Don't have sex. If you start having sex, in my mind, you're an adult. You are saying to the world, the universe, that I am woman enough to handle whatever comes with this decision. And I'm sorry, ladies, to tell you, the sexual exchange from the aftermath is not the same from a man to a woman. Like, it's not when the act is over, the actual responsibility is not the same, especially when you factor in a kid coming into the equation. For some odd reason, this seems to be a shared responsibility in the illusion that is a woman's mind, and the delusion sometimes that exists in the outlook, because it's not the same. Excuse me. Now, how could you potentially prevent some of these things? 1, abstinence. Don't start having sex till you're married. Keep your legs closed. What's the term? I'm not even going to try it. Don't have babies before you're married, preferably. It's just an easier situation. And then in the case, I know there's some people probably on here saying, okay, well, Daniel, I did that. I went that route. I did it the right way. I had a child with my husband. Things didn't work out for whatever reason. Well, I have a belief system that is and this is just how I see it. I don't believe things don't just work out. I don't think when you're in a relationship that you chose to be in, mind you, unless you're a part of an arranged marriage culture or something along them lines. But even with that, that's probably not a good example, Daniel, because most of those relationships actually last, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, if you choose to be in a relationship, we're going to stay there. If you choose to be in a relationship that you chose, and you get to a point to where now it's tense, it's tight, it's not working, it's not clicking for you, and there's a baby involved, and then there's a marriage involved. Well, see, your variables changed. It's not like when you're just together. See, there's levels to it. When you're just together on the same level, whether you're dating, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, okay, there's no connectivity other than your time, your energy, maybe your resources to a degree. But once a child is between, it's literally the connection. It's a forever connection. It doesn't matter if you guys like each other. You liked each other enough to have a kid. For 5 minutes, for 20 minutes, for whatever long length of time that sexual encounter was happening, you liked each other enough for that kid to be a part of the equation. And so as an adult, there has to be an elevated level of understanding that the type of decisions you make with that type of equation are different than the ones you would have made pre-kid. Post-kid, completely different. And I don't think that this point is driven in enough to young ladies, specifically because you guys are the gatekeepers of life. You have options. 1, abstinence. 2, birth control. 3, termination of pregnancy, which is not something I necessarily advocate for, but it is an option. I can already feel someone or people saying, that's why you can't endorse that. That's not right. Well, neither is having sex before marriage. That's not right. And the point is that when you make certain decisions, you can't just remove what may occur. When you drink and you drive and you crash or you get pulled over, you get a DUI. For every action, there's a reaction. For every choice, there's a response. So if you make a choice, some of those choices have long-lasting ramifications. That's adult-like. And I think there really needs to be an elevated process that people need to start holding more people accountable for being adults. You can't just drift through life thinking that it's okay to just do stuff and it not have no effects. If you're late to your job a few times, you may get fired. If you walk into a grocery store or a department store and you take something that don't belong to you and you run out and they catch you, you may go to jail. Life's really not that complicated. People make it complicated. Make better choices. Get it together. Moving on. I want to say life is choice driven. Your choices can rule out a lot of your choices can rule you out of a lot. Or your choices can rule you out of certain options in your life. So I'm trying to give you guys another example. I think certain people can understand that. Let's just say you end up catching a case. You make some bad choices in your childhood and in your youth, and you may be 17, 18, whatever. You made some bad choices. Fast forward 13 years, 17, 18, you're 29, 30 now, right? Now you've grown up. Now you got a different perspective. Now you have goals, you have dreams, you have things that you want to now accomplish and do. Let's say you wanted to pursue law enforcement or go run for a political office. And you have a rap sheet, you have, a felony or something that's, sketchy in your past. Well, guess what? The world doesn't typically award you new access to a new life just because you matured and just because you don't knock over ATMs or, sell drugs or whatever it may be anymore. Typically, they hold you accountable for the choices that were made years ago. And that is truly how this works. The choices you make follow you. Make good choices. Make better choices. It's of the utmost importance. And I'm encouraging people to really do better. I'm encouraging men to do better. Push yourself to be the best version of yourself you can be. I'm encouraging women to do better. Push yourself to understand that you have responsibilities that no man will ever truly be able to, how would I put it, house or hone from a biological perspective. Your baby factory, your baby making factory is yours. It's on you. Nothing we can really do about that. And so you need to be a little bit more diligent in how you go about conducting yourself as a woman. I don't care if it's modern day and it's sold to you that you can be loose and promiscuous and throw your box all over the place and wop this and twerk that. That mess is dumb and stupid. And the reality of it is I really don't think that if you are a woman and you have a daughter, you would encourage her to do the exact same thing. I just don't see it. Anyway, moving on. Okay, I want to talk about one last component to this particular segment of the series, and that is what should be the best case of action if you do end up in a situation having a child with someone that you no longer want to be with. And there's not one way to answer this, but I'm going to do my best to try to articulate what I believe should be your mindset. The mindset of both parties, both male and female, should be what is the best case scenario for the child. That should be the focus point. If you are even half of a decent human being and understand how important it is for a child to have support and love and a foundation, a consistent environment that is a thriving one, that gives them the best case scenario to grow up with the healthy perspective and healthy emotions and a whole person, then both individuals, the male and the female, should be thinking from that premise. I think people need to stop being so dang selfish in trying to carve out leverage through using children. Now, this is a practice on both parties. I do know that people sometimes act very immaturely when a breakup happens. They're hurt. They feel taken advantage of. They feel manipulated. They feel betrayed. Whatever it may be, your emotions, are valid to the degree of how you feel. Now, what you do with those emotions is a completely different level. And I think that especially when you graduate from being, not just a man, but a father, and then a woman, not just a woman, but a mother, and then not just a mother, but a wife, and then not just a man, but a husband, if that is the equation or whichever, however it comes together, you need to operate differently. You need to move differently. There is a simple solution for most of these single parent homes. If there is no evidence of abuse, physical, mental, where there's no real threat to your life as a mother, no threat to the child's life, no threat to the fact that being around this person, mainly the man, because in most equations, when a breakup happens, the woman does not want to be with the man anymore. This is statistic, and she now wants to remove him from her life and then take sole responsibility of the child or have a higher level of, what is it called? Visitation, or no, not visitation. What is it, Daniel? What is it? It is custody. That's the word. Thank you. Of the child. I think that's asinine. I think that as a mother, if you understand what it is necessary for the benefit of your child, then you need to put your feelings to the side. You need to grow the heck up, put your big girl panties on, and understand that no matter how you personally feel about him, whatever he did, I don't care what he did. I don't care if he had 12 hoes. I don't care if he stayed out all night. I don't care if he gambled. I don't care. What I do care about is that at some point, the standard of him putting his baby juice in you was good enough, and good enough to where you decided to have his baby. So from that, you need to own your decision. Do not try to now start holding the characteristics of the person to a different elevated level just because now you're not happy with him no more. You pissed. He didn't treat you right, or he didn't give you what he promised, or whatever it may be. That's some BS regurgitated crap that continues to happen, and it needs to stop because you have too many households that are grown up imbalanced. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to reside under the same roof, that you guys need to have the same address, but I think that a situation needs to be worked out to eliminate powers that be like family court and family law and child support and, visitation and all this stupid stuff that does not actually benefit the overall structure of the family. You're pretty much telling people that you are incapable of being able to make decisions in your own life as an adult, as a man or as a woman, that you need outside parties to come in and help navigate your crap. But you didn't ask these parties to assist you in creating a baby or creating the unstable emotional break that was in your relationship. You didn't do that. You guys didn't drive by the courthouse or drive by the police station and ask them if it was okay for you to hit it from the back or her to throw it back. Like, you didn't do that. So the same approach needs to be, and like I said, unless it is something that is hostile and violent and your life is on the line. But those are such a micro amount of equations. The reality is a lot of people are just out here doing grown-up things and they're not grown. They're conducting themselves as grown-up and they're not ready. They're participating in grown-up activities, and quite frankly, they need to sit their butt down and let the adults handle it. Because just because you get older, and just because you can drink legally, and just because you can operate a motor vehicle, just because you get a paycheck, doesn't make you grown. Grow up and do it right, because you keep people who are doing it incorrectly are creating a society that the children that you are actually having, the children that are going to continue to be birthed, they're not going to have a world that's going to be balanced and fair in a way that is going to be the best productive and best suited for their progression, so that life can continue to move on, germinate, and grow. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right around there. I appreciate you guys for being patient with me. I know at times, like I said, I get passionate. Sometimes I get a little lost in my thoughts. I go in different directions, but I feel that it was necessary to speak on the things that I did, tonight and in this particular broadcast. I appreciate the engagement. Continue to go ahead and follow me. Share this good news. Share this information. If there's any topics that you guys want to hear about, me talk about, things you want me to pull apart, I welcome it, because I love to have conversations on this level, things that are productive and progressive for our development as people. When you get a chance, like I said, go ahead and hit that like button. I definitely appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. And this is part 2 of The Delusion is Real. This is Daniel Rucker signing out. You guys have a good night. Thank you.